But you said it before, JP. Before we go into it, sounds like you were relatively high on Dynamite compared to recent weeks.
Yeah, I think I was. I think again, I'm going in there with relatively like low expectations, but I think there was stuff that I saw, like kind of reading the results and everything else. I only managed to finish it off today. It wasn't something I necessarily rushed straight into, but tonally, I think they kind of got it right. It felt like the nonsense was down to a minimum, which is MJF, Tony Storm, and the MJF promo was as relatively sensible and straightforward. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm absolutely fine with that. And it felt like there was some good matches around the place as well. Like I enjoyed Roosh and Mark Briscoe. I enjoyed the main event. I thought anything that wasn't particularly good, it felt like it moved at like a kind of like a decent pace, and any nonsense was kept somewhat to a minimum. You know, the Hardys being on TV made me just think, well, it was absolutely pointless. But in some ways, it was like, well, we had Darius Martin back instead, didn't I? Dante Martin back, I should say. And that felt like, okay, that's kind of interesting. Not Action Andretti. I'll never be interested in him. There'll never be much of an interest I'll ever have in that bloke ever in my life. But I have to say, for a piece of wrestling TV, I watched it and I went, that's pretty, that was fine. That was decent. Do it. You had some good solid matches. It wasn't overly like stretched out trying to cram too much shit in. So I was fine. Yeah. And the stuff I didn't like was kept down to a minimum. And that's all I can really ask for, realistically, week to week.
It was a good show. It was. I'm with you. It wasn't a massively notable show. It wasn't a show that's even really that interested to talk about, to be honest. Like, it was just functional in a lot of ways. I think the two biggest talking points for me are the Continental Classic and the MJF segment. From the Continental Classic point of view, I felt like, you know, the matches were better. Still not at that. This is not the G1. We're not with the levels on at that, but I really enjoy Jay White and Swerve working together.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, you know, there's the one thing I loved about the Continental Classic on this week's Dynamite was kind of missing from that, because like, why were Swerve and Jay White, who are two great talkers, not doing any talking? Like, I would have loved that if they could have put over the match, done a bit of an interview, explained, because we are in a weird position with Swerve right now where it almost feels like they've either fucked up and put him in the babyface position in this tournament when they want him to continue to be a heel, or we're in that, you know, Rock breakdown WWF 1998, 1997 part where he's about to turn face and be the biggest thing in the business because he's coming across that way. But I would love to hear what his mindset was going into the match with Jay White, you know, because it was an interesting match, a heel versus heel match. And we didn't get that, but we did get a cracking match, probably the best match of the Continental Classic so far. And I was really happy that Swerve went over. It was a tough one. I hadn't even thought about it until like the closing stretch of the match. It was like, oh, fuck. This is one of those good to be in scenarios where you could go with either man here, and it's actually hard to make a call because Jay White's coming off a loss.
Yeah.
Swerve has got a lot of momentum, but I think the right call was made. I think Swerve's got the momentum. You don't want to take it off him right now, and Jay can have a good run for the rest of the tournament. It's tournament wrestling. This is going to happen, and get his heat back. So I thought that was really smart, and it does feel like we're on the cusp of something with Swerve. But what I'm criticizing them for there, did in spades with Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson earlier on. Yeah. Like, that made me so excited for Collision this weekend. Like, just two of the best. Like I mentioned it, like I'd seen Eddie's promo already. I think I thought it was on Collision, but they must have just put it on the Twitter, which sounds like AEW. But like, just a cracking job of like we kept saying, I don't believe that he came up with this idea to put his belts in this tournament, but you know what? He's doing a job of trying to make me believe it. And he was brilliant. He was vulnerable. And he was talking about the fact, fuck, now I've got to face Brian. I was over cocky. Just fucking great work. He's one of the best there's ever been, Eddie Kingston, when it comes to promos. And then Danielson at the desk. I don't think he was great all night. Like, half the time I forgot he was there. But there were little moments I really enjoyed him. But the bit I really enjoyed him was when he stood up and responded to Eddie Kingston's promo and brought out that fire of, like, you know, I'm coming in with fucking one eye and I'm going to beat the shit out of you type of, like, complete opposite attitude to Eddie Kingston. I was like, oh, yeah, I can't wait for this match now. Like, and I already was excited for it. Thought that was brilliant. I want more of that. Like, Moxley cooks a killer promo coming out of Dynamite as well, what they haven't put on the TV yet. Like, that goes to the point, doesn't it? It's more entertainment versus wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling isn't just matches. Unbelievably, wrestling is stakes and selling it. Just give me a little bit more of that. Like, I want that. I want to be told how important this is, and the guys are doing it. And we've had about 4 or 5 great promos out of this tournament. They just haven't all been on TV. Let's get them all on TV and let's do more of it, because that's what's selling me on this tournament actually right now, rather than the matches themselves.
Yeah, when AEW was at its best, it was a point I tried to make during the State of AEW show that we did with Gareth, where the thing you want to take from is sports, because sports is the hot product on TV. And it felt like so much of this is taken from sports. And it had like wrestlers taking a tournament seriously, where they realize they're not going to perhaps win each of it, but you've got to get points on the board, where you can't have 2 losses in a row, because it kind of almost writes you out of the tournament entirely. And I loved that, because it meant that everyone was invested in it. So all the wrestlers who were there are invested in the tournament, and they're being themselves, which is always the thing that when we spoke about the best stuff on Full Gear with Swerve and Hangman, it was when wrestlers felt believable, which is that kind of, sporting competitive edge being brought out. And that's what this tournament has managed to do, as hasty as it is it's kind of forcing them into a situation where actually you're in tournament wrestling, so you haven't got any silliness surrounding it. And my God, what a refreshing change. Like, it felt like the most important thing on the show. And so as a result, I think I was just more inclined to the stuff I wasn't mad about to kind of go, I'm okay with it being there, because there was a lot less of it. Like you had said before about, it'd be like one for them and one for me. Like, it would be like this bit of, we have to have a bit of fucking bullshit every time we have the serious stuff. And it was like, no, actually, you can do the serious stuff and then have serious promos, and then like kind of build something that's meaningful and more substantial. It made me, like you say, I wanted to watch Collision. Haven't really felt that way. I generally, in the main, as I always like to say when we talk about Collision, I generally end up enjoying it. But it made me think, oh no, I need to see this.
Eddie Kingston will do that. But yeah, match wise, like I say, the only thing, I'm still a little bit like with Swerve, he just tried to eat a man's baby, and now like he seems to be a baby face. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. That's why I want a promo from him. I'm sure he can make it work. Let's hear it. Rush and Mark Briscoe didn't have much to say about solid enough match, and Moxley and Jay Lethal solid enough. But I thought that was the pick of the 3. When you say though about one for you, one for me, that's how I feel about the MJF promo on this show. Like, if I'd have just turned me telly off after he stopped talking, I'd be like, yes, that's what I want. That's the MJF I want. He put over Joe. He talked, about his like history and TNA and, and being, this big star, and even managed to brush over the fact that, he had some bad years too, but said it in a way that like, well, it wasn't Joe's fault. It was the places he wears, and he should have been WWE champion. Felt like for a man standing there with the ROH tag belt on, kind of almost talking like Joe was never the top guy or never a champion. I was like, mate, he was the top guy of that. He had that belt that's behind me there. But anyway, I'll let that go. But like, he was great, really good, and MJF can do that. Sometimes he goes too far when he's putting over his opponents. I thought he did that in the Pillars feud, but it just felt like, mate, you're desperate here trying to make me think that Jungle Boy is something he isn't, or Sammy Guevara is something he isn't. He was perfect here. He straddled that line, and it was some of his best work, I think, in weeks and weeks and weeks. Yeah, I just wish it had stopped there, because then, as good as the promo was, and it deserves the plaudit, so I haven't given it enough. I apologize. Like, I loved it, but it was brilliant. Best work he's done in a long time. Unfortunately, as does happen in AEW, we got a lights out moment, didn't we? As the maybe the positive is we're speeding along through this Devil story, and maybe the reveal's going to be coming sooner than we thought. But it was bad, and Joe coming out, was done badly as well. Like, I hated his music hitting for him to come out the crowd. Like, I was like, who's hitting that music? Like, it's just like, what is going on? And I know, maybe I should be thankful. Small mercies, we're getting it out the way, and we're getting a match next week. But that made no sense to me. Like, why? Because they emphasized Tony Khan has agreed that MJF and Samoa Joe are going to put the ROH tag belts up against the 2 mystery men. So what? Tony Khan signed a match with 2 men who he doesn't know who they are, who just hacked his TV show to be in a match. I know it's wrestling, but come on,
it could be us.
Like, and how shit's
2 blokes.
Like, picture it, JP. What are the Conquistadors? They're going to come out in that full black next week and work a match. Like, it'll have to be an angle. You can't work a match. Like, it's going to be shit. Like, how's that going to get over? It's going to be awful, isn't it? Like, I don't know what their plan is next week. I'm worried actively about how they're going to do that on TV, because it's just going to have to be one big hokey angle, because, they're not going to be fucking, I think, they're not going to be fucking holding the tag rope, are they? Like, waiting for the hot tag. Like, it's probably not going to happen. So maybe they're just it's going to be the Kingdom, and it's going to be like, we're done. Like, story, let's go. Let's move on. And we get the reveal. Like, because, how'd you even pull that off? Like, it's not a real thing that's going to happen next week. So maybe on that, in that regard, I'm actually kind of intrigued how they're going to get out of it. But yeah, it was a lot of shite coming after what I thought was a fantastic segment otherwise.
Yeah, that was it. It was just as soon as the devil stuff happened, I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes. And like my interest
messages on the screen
dropped out of the way. I know. This is
very MLW,
like, wow. Is it Sammy Callahan's hacker character? They're bringing that back in, aren't they? Fucking hell. Like,
it's that rally, isn't it? Retribution.
But the thing is about that match for next week, I wasn't looking forward to it in a good way. It was just like, okay, is this just going to be really awful? How exactly are they going to get around this? How exactly are they going to get this to work? Because it just, like that stuff was shit. But his tone and delivery when it came to the actual promo itself, I was so pleasantly surprised by it. I was like, okay, he wasn't like going for fucking catchphrases, like, and the rest of it, and coming out like happy jolly MJF, the fucking sports entertainer. It was like a bit more, it just felt a bit more serious. And maybe because I'm a sucker for the idea of bringing up other companies, but you should do that with Joe. I mean, and you should be bringing up Ring of Honor as much, if not everything else, like just mention all of those kind of places. But just, I think the match itself, I mean, it'll be, I suppose we'll talk more about it when we get to Dynamite, because again, I reserve judgment to completely shit on all of this yet again. But maybe I won't this week, because I felt all right about Dynamite.
Yeah, and I thought that, obviously, you buy the Wardlow tease and coming out with his hair all ruffled up like he was just wearing a mask. I don't know if you've been online enough to see the Sammy Guevara, Wardlow, I think maybe Britt Baker, liking some negative MJF tweets. Sammy Guevara's in this fucking stable. I'm done.
No,
if this is another rehab job for Sammy Guevara, I believe Wardlow might be involved. But hopefully some of the others are, it's not them. Let's see. But maybe I'm intrigued, but for negative reasons. But yeah, I thought it was a functional show. I agree with your praise of Dante Martin. It was, I saw that match graphic and was like, the Hardys, really. And, Brother Zay, if anything, we're talking about it again on the Discord today. He's more of a turn off for me than Matt and Jeff right now. Him coming out doing his impression of Matt and Jeff Hardy. Like, what is he supposed to be? He's just fucking. I think Wade Keller was saying it on the Torch this week. He's just, if you never watched a minute of AEW and put it on, and there's this young lad running out doing Matt Hardy's poses and Jeff Hardy's pose called Brother Zay, and then he takes the pin at the end. What even is he? Like, I don't necessarily think he's good or he's worth much more, other than if you could ever get Private Party back together. But like, Mark Quinn's ever healthy again, but. Fucking hell. I was proper like not looking forward to that. And then Dante Martin got a great reaction, and that was nice to see. And I thought Julia Hart and Emi Sakura was all right too.
Botched finish.
Yeah, it was weird, that wasn't it? It was like the house rules things fucking sucks. Like,
that's awful.
I've read it. I've seen people. I don't know what your take on it. People quite charitable, in my opinion, saying, I mean, I guess maybe she didn't fuck up the finish. Maybe it wasn't supposed, because it was a weird thing, wasn't it? With fucking, the idea being that she was going for a submission, but it's her match, so she should know you can't go for a submission.
Emi Sakura's one rule was she couldn't use submissions to finish it.
I guess we're getting that over. So yeah, but like that was shit. And then the moonsault, like, what was that? Like,
Emi Sakura just rolling across to get some of it on top.
Proper vet, knows the place. She's also like 0-12 in AEW and getting title shots, but whatever. But she is a vet and she knows what she's doing. Does Emi Sakura, but like, yeah, like it felt very Vader used to do that a lot, where it was like, mate, you're never going to hit that moonsault. Like they're completely in the wrong position. Yeah, but she's young, isn't she? So it's gonna happen. But
and I think the overall thing with Julie Hart is I kind of expect things like this to happen on TV, because she's getting her reps in on live TV. What is happening though, and it's definitely a case of, for this audience that are there is a crowd connection, and people are reacting to her. and they are actually kind of actively kind of cheering her on as well. And I think that in and of itself is kind of interesting to see if this goes or is it a fad, because that happens a lot with wrestling fans. There's someone they get into and then they suddenly stop for reasons, and the slightest bit of bad booking and the rest of it. But she's definitely an experiment that's worth going with. That's where I've kind of come to on this. And if she is getting that kind of reaction, then, yeah, so be it. Maybe she'll wrestle Mariah May.
Maybe. Oh yeah, they did that angle as well, didn't they? Don't know what's going on there. I was going to note as well. Like I did think from the just turned Tony Schiavone on there. Oops. I did think we gave it enough credit on Collision, but Adam Copeland and Christian continues to be good stuff, mostly from Christian. Even when the material's bad, his delivery's so good that he makes it work. And as James said on Twitter today, he's almost made me interested in Adam Copeland. Not quite, but Christian was great again this week. And God bless him, even with bad material.
And hearing Adam Copeland say "fuck" again, like he just
they missed that, didn't they? They missed the censor spot.
They did. Like, and I thought, okay, like again, something I was prepared not to like, but I did kind of like. Even Christian fucking up the fact he called Kill Switch Luchasaurus as well. Kind of like backtrack over it as well. But again,
he makes that work too, doesn't he?
It's funny, mate. I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a good mood. Maybe because it's the 1st of December and the Christmas spirit has hit me. But I felt like there was definitely more good than bad on this show, and anything I didn't like was relatively small, minor, and not too consequential. So, like, this is at the minute with the kind of run of Dynamites we had. This maybe is kind of good as we get, and when this Continental Classic heats up, I think then we are kind of onto something. Like, and it'll be fascinating to see what happens with the semis and the final, and how people are doing. Go to the Discord. I know Connor is doing the Lord's work again of kind of like letting people know what's happening in terms of the standings and the like. So yeah.
There you go. Solid Dynamite. Long way to Don't mind when it's even it's a little bit boring. It's better than what we've had the last while.